A brief overview of the Celts. If you want to know about the Celts, where they were, where they came from, and the impending threat of the Roman Empire, enjoy this. The Celts, known by the Romans as barbarians, were one of the first societies of man. They originate before the death of Jesus Christ, and they controlled most of pre-Roman Europe. They were essentially groups of tribes controlled individually by chieftains, who would rule separately from other tribes. This wouldn't be beneficial, as it wouldn't give the social unity that a king or emperor might give. This led to strategic disadvantages, so that meant they were not capable of controlling threats like the Roman Empire. The Celts were united in their culture, and they had some of the most developed poets of their day, who many would say were before their time in their skill and their talent in literal expression. They had a very simple social system, which was used by many of the different invaders after the Romans had fled. It was used, in fact, until the feudal system was introduced by William the Conqueror. This consisted of the warriors who would fight for the people in the tribe. These were usually young men, or the poets and druids, who usually were old men who had passed their worth as soldiers but had developed skills in the healing and literary art. The Celts were very advanced warriors, who favoured a more frenzied method of controlling their lands. The Celtic warrior would be dressed in barely anything, and would in typical Celtic fashion wear the skulls of his enemies. They would rush down the hill in a Celtic battle frenzy. This means that they would potentially go mad and kill everything and everyone, similar to the Viking berserkers method. What is most interesting about the Celtic people's warriors would be the fact that women were given the same rights as men in military, which shows not only that sexual segregation started with the Normans, but the Celts had a modern-day views on women's rights. The Romans had created an Italian-based empire which had planned to expand into Europe. After threatening the Gauls, a group of French United Celts, in France and ultimately defeating them, they decided to move into the rest of the Celtic territory. Julius Caesar was the first to attack the Celts, gaining victory after victory. This started as a series of bloody battles which, though the Celts fought hard, would lead to the destruction of their empire to the Romans' advanced strategy and group. After the Romans had taken most of their territory in Europe, including modern-day France, Austria, and Belgium, the Celts migrated to England, where now the height of their culture can be seen, as well as direct traces to their Celtic language in Welsh, Irish, and Scottish. Britain was one of the hardest places for the Romans to take for many years, with many failed attempts. Even one of the most renowned and important generals in history, Julius Caesar, was forced into accepting defeat to the Celts. The Celts held out for another couple of years before the Senate finally took Britain, but even the Senate couldn't reprise the Celts from their home in the Scottish Highlands.